Welcome back to the Anchored with Purpose podcast. Today, we've got a special guest, my new friend, Misty Rivers. Now, Misty and I connected from another friend that I had on the podcast, and I have to tell you, we hit it off right away. We both have a background in direct sales, and so you'll hear a little bit about that, and you'll hear how that led Misty and me into coaching and helping women. And I think you're going to love how she talks about Godfidence and keeping God at the center of your life. Let's dive in. Well, hey, Misty, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you, Melissa, for having me.
This is exciting. I can't wait for people to get to hear what you do after getting to spend a session inside of your group, but we're going to get to all of that. But as we get started, can you just share a little bit about you? Share what inspired you to be doing the work that you're doing today.
Well, I will say that the work that I'm doing today, without a doubt, is something that God has led me to. And He's still leading me each and every day. But I was in direct sales for years, probably like 16 years. And then I just found myself, for lack of better words, just coaching other women, whether they were my customers, whether they were other business owners. A lot of women would reach out to me and ask for advice. And one day I just thought, man, it would be so cool. And it would be awesome because I love pouring in, being a mentor to other women. I was like, it'd be so cool if I could do this for a living and actually get paid for it. I put a group together. It was just a Facebook group, and I put a name on it. I don't even remember the name now. And I just asked the question, if anybody is looking for guidance, whatever, you can join this group. And I had probably close to 100 women who went into that group. And I just poured things in there, added value. And one day I said, if they answered a question, I was going to do a drawing and they would get a free coaching session. Still did not know what I was doing. And it was my first client. She's actually still with me today, 8.5 years later. And she won the session. And I went and we met, not knowing exactly what would happen, just trusting God the whole way. We had the best conversation. And I shared with her of something that someone shared with me, and it's the base of my coaching today. And it changed things for her. I went from that to a friend of mine that she was an accountant and she could set up like companies. And I said, because that client said to me, how much are you going to charge? Because I want to meet with you every month. I was like, okay, God, I hear you. So then I went to the girl that I knew and I said, I shared my vision, shared the experience with the client. And I said, before I charge, I want to have things set up right. I shared my vision with her and she said, I really just feel like, could we barter? Like, I'll do this for you and then you can coach me. She's still with me today.
I love that.
Yeah, and it just went from there. And I trusted God the whole way. But when He is in it and He is directing you and you trust Him, you might not see the whole vision, but step by step, He will take you in that way. And honestly, that's how I got started. I searched it and I knew in the state of Kentucky, you did not have to have any type of certificate to call yourself a life coach. So that's where it started. I was like, and I'd had a life coach before. So I used the experience that I had, the things that women had mentored me in, and that's what I used to start coaching. And then that was in 2018, 2020, decided I didn't know what the world was going to be going through, but that summer I decided to go back to school and I got my business degree and graduated in 2024. So it's been a journey the whole entire way. But you ask a little bit about me and I will tell you, you can see behind me, I'm a grandma now, and that is the brightest thing in my world. I told someone the other day, like, he is the best therapy when I'm with him. I think of nothing else in the world. And people tell you about that and you don't realize it until it actually happens. But family is very important to me, and I've got 2 adult children. They're married. We get together for Sunday dinners and my grandson is there, and Wednesday morning is Mama and Bo Day. And
Oh,
that's my most favorite morning of the week. And it's just me and him. And other than God and Christ, like my family's the most important thing to me.
oh, I love that. Well, I think you're going to find you're in good company here. That's a lot of the
Mhm.
women who are listening. Family is that second most important thing
Mhm.
after their relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
So, Misty, when you and I first chatted, one of the things that we bonded over was this experience in direct sales and kind of how
Yeah.
that helped to prep us in the coaching business because
Yes.
we found ourselves coaching, and then speaking is one of those things that kind of comes naturally along with that too because you're
Yeah.
literally presenting at every single show or party that you're at.
Yeah, it's beautiful, Melissa, when I really think about how God prepared me for such a time as this. And even, I'm asked to speak at women's conferences or gatherings, and I just never realized that when I was in direct sales and I had a team of women under me, and every week I had a meeting and a training, and I was presenting in front of them. And then there would be other conferences or gatherings and even bigger crowds that I would speak in front of. And that totally prepared me for what I do today. And even mentoring the women then, it's a different way, but it really is all the same. Mentoring is mentoring no matter what you're mentoring in. And it did prepare me. And I'm so grateful for that. I didn't have a clue at the time. I thought I would be in that direct sales company my entire life. I loved it. But I know that God, now I can see God had a different plan, but He was preparing me. And it's beautiful when we look back over our life and see that the things that we had no idea, whether it was good or even if it was a trial, that He brought us through and taught us so we can help other women in those same areas.
For sure. I think that's one of the beautiful things. And everybody's got this in their story, just different ways that God has used those experiences to shape us on this path that we're on.
Yeah, yeah, for
So
sure.
let's talk about Godfidence. Now, your coaching centers on this idea, and you call it confidence rooted in faith instead of that hustle culture, which thank you, because we need to escape that hustle culture. So,
Yeah,
first, how do you define Godfidence, and how did you discover its importance in your own journey?
yeah. I remember was good friends with a girl who taught middle school youth. So in this time, this was even before coaching, I read this book that she gave to me, and it was for middle school youth, like it was for that age group. And she knew that I was already passionate about girls having confidence. And it's like, man, if we could teach them when they're young, they wouldn't be these broken women when they're older, and they could have confidence to their life and knowing their identity in Christ. That is true Godfidence, knowing who you are in Him and not in this world. When I read this book, the word Godfidence, and I wish I still had it, I loaned it out. I'm going to search that because I want to go back to what was that book. I saw the word Godfidence in it, and it defined it in there that it is not about who you think you are. It's not about what the world thinks about you. It is who God created you to be. And our strength, our identity, everything is through Him. And when we can really grasp that and know that it's not about us, it's not in our own strength. And really, somebody told me once that I had selfish thoughts, and I got a little defensive. I'm like, I am the least selfish person that I know. I would do anything for anybody, give anything. But they said, but you're always worrying about yourself when you're thinking about what would this person think about me? Or I'm not going to do this because I'm afraid what they would do or think. And I'm like, wow, I guess I am thinking about me. Anytime that we make a decision with low confidence, worrying about what people would think, we're thinking about ourselves and not what God has called us to do. So Godfidence is so important to me, and important that if women just, if they could grab a hold of it, it's life changing. Of knowing that we serve an audience of one every day when we get up. He is the most important thing in our life. And we know this, but do we act upon it? And spending time with Him, whatever that looks like to each individual person, and talking to Him throughout the day, letting Him be the CEO of our life, the CEO of our business, consulting with Him over every decision versus calling a friend. And friend and community is good. I believe in that. But so many times we look to other people for the answers, and he has them. We just have to let him lead and guide us in that way. So to me, Godfidence should be the center of everything that we teach and everything that we do, and base our decisions on what he thinks about us, our identity in him over everything else.
Misty, I really love what you said, when he should be the CEO of our lives. I mean,
Yeah.
when you think about that, how much time we waste thinking about, what about this? Or what if that? Or I'm not sure if I'm making the right decision. How about just ask him? How about just ask our creator and let him
Yeah.
lead and talk to him all day long? I love that concept.
He knows us better than anyone. He formed us, he created us, he walks with us, he knows us. So why would we not, when we really think about it, why would we not ask him first?
Sure. Oh my gosh. All right. Now, Misty, here's something that we talk a lot about on this podcast, and it is wearing all of the hats, right? So there's so many women who are wearing the hat of business, work, taking care of a mom, wife, right? They're trying to take care of their personal well being because we're told, take care of yourself, right? But all of these women are feeling exhausted. So, what are some of the most common patterns you see that keep women stuck in burnout? And then how do you help them shift out of it?
So everything that you just said describes 99.9% of the women that come to me. And I was there because I experienced that, and the tool that I will tell you about that helped me. This is the foundation of my coaching. When I was in that direct sales, because we love direct sales because it's freedom and flexibility, right? But at the same time, the work is never done. Even in our businesses, like, the work is never done. It's not a 9 to 5. When you're an entrepreneur, it's hard to turn it off. And I found myself, like many women, going to bed with guilt and feeling like, okay, when I'm working, I don't feel like I've spent enough time with my family. Or when I'm with my family, there's such a long to-do list for my business. And it was a tug of war. Or it could even be, I've not really spent enough time in my faith today, or I wasted time doing this. And we have so many hats, and we think that it's good, and it could be good. And so I found myself completely exhausted, involved in way too many things, working. I was a work from home mom with my direct sales, and just the guilt of the world was on my shoulders. And I went in to a dear friend. We were at a meeting of a group that I was part of, and I just kind of unloaded on her. And she is actually the one, we wrote a devotional together.
I love that.
Yeah, it's Journey to be Godfident. Imagine that.
We'll have that link in the show notes, everybody.
So I went into her, and we sit down, and everyone had left the meeting. It was just me and her. And I said, I feel like I'm doing 100 things. I can remember that feeling right now. I can go back to that moment. I said, I feel like I'm doing 100 things, and I'm not doing any of them good enough. And she said, here's what I want you to do. And she knows how significant this activity was, and that I use it. But in that moment, like, she didn't know, it just come to her. And it's changed my life and other women's lives. She said, I want you to draw a target, like a bullseye target. So I drew a ring with other rings around it, like the archery target. And she said, I want you to write the most important thing in your life. And I said, well, that's God. So I wrote God there. And then she said, in the next ring, I want you to write the next most important thing. So I wrote my family. And she said, just keep continuing out. Well, then I got to, and I said, well, what about these ministries that I'm part of? I was doing jail ministry. I was doing helping with youth. I was part of the women's program. And I did other things. I was involved with things with my kids at their school, just all these things. And what she said to me, like, it made me cry. I said, where do these ministries go in here with God in the center? Because they're for him. She said, no, that protected time is your relationship.
Right.
That's it. And then your family is your first ministry. And the rest of this goes way out here, because your work helps provide for your family. Your work is what you're doing, your gifts and calling for the Lord. So the rest of it goes out here. And I realized in that moment, that's why I was going to bed with guilt. because I was doing way too many things and that I was going to have to take some hats off. So the things that they were good things, all of it was
Mhm.
great things. So I started taking hats off and really focusing on my relationship with God, really being in the moment with my family, not just being there, but doing things, asking them, my kids, they were small at the time, like, what is important to you with me? Like, what the time that we spend together, what's your favorite thing? And focusing more on moments than just being there. Then when I was working, setting those boundaries of, hey, I'm working, no interruption, staying focused, because that's hard for me, being intentional with my time when I work and being able to separate that a little bit. So, and I remember I started going to bed and I had peace.
Mm.
And I was like, thank you, Lord, because I was in the moment with the things that I valued the most. I put those things first and I set boundaries with everything else. It's hard for most women. It is very hard for me to tell people no, but it doesn't mean no, not ever. It's just no, not now. So all those hats that we put on, first of all, we need to go to the Lord in prayer. Is this what you want me to do in this season? Because just because it's good doesn't mean it's the time for it. And seeking him for that advice of what should I be doing in this season. And when you start taking hats off, you will have less burnout, because it's not necessarily sometimes that we're burnt out with our work. We're burnt out with all the other hats that we wear, and we don't have the energy for the things that we really need to be doing. And she did not do this ring with me, but here's what I found. I'd coached women for, this is about a year in with my coaching, and I realized that we needed a ring between God, our God time, and our family. And I call that temple time. It's taking care of us. You can call it self-care, you can call whatever that it is, but it's what feeds you mentally, physically, emotionally. We've already got spiritually, in our God time. That needs to be how do you spend time with God? And you can't compare that with anybody else. It's your relationship. He made you unique. It could be getting on your knees and praying. It could be sitting at a table with an open chair and reading it. Whatever that looks like, you have to figure that out. But your next ring, if we hear this in the airplanes, if you fly, put your oxygen mask on first before you can help anyone else. Like you have to be intentional. For one, you can't help other people. You can't be your best if you don't feel your best
Right.
in all those tanks. And for two, it's honoring God because he made us. We are his temple, and it is honoring, it's stewarding. Just like if we steward money well, we steward our time well, we need to steward our body well.
Absolutely.
So that is something that I work with many women on too, of keeping them accountable. Have you had quiet time? Have you done something for yourself lately, whether it's a bubble bath, or if you love taking nature walks and that gives you mental clarity, or if it gives you joy to be with your friends and to separate from all your responsibility. Have you done that lately? Like, it seems selfish, but it's not. Like, we want to be our best for everyone else, so we honor God with our temple time as well.
Absolutely. Misty, there's a word that you used throughout
Mhm.
all of this, and I think it's so important to pull it out, and that's intentional. So
Yeah.
when you put everything in the rings, it allows you to see where you can be more intentional with your time and your energy too, so that you're not going to bed feeling like a failure. So if you're having that intentional God time, that intentional, we'll call it self-care time, right? Taking care of what you need to do for your physical and spiritual body, but then your family, and then whatever else, like God will tell you what's important. But I love that you used intentional there, because that's something we try to focus on here, so we're not feeling so frazzled and like failures at the end of the day.
Well, we wear many hats. So if you visually think, if you've got all these different hats and you try to put them on all at one time, like, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
So
well,
it,
your neck starts to hurt when you wear too many hats.
yeah, yeah, that's where the stress comes in. So if you're intentional with boundaries, intentional with your time, of this is not that we can't fluctuate. It's nothing set in stone, but it's like, okay, I'm going to work during this time. I'm going to be on social media for this time. Because here's the funny thing, Melissa. Not one woman, when I sit down and they do this target, nobody has ever ever said social media, TV, any of
Right.
that, none of that has
Right.
ever went on a woman's target. But when we look at this, goes with the time that aligns the course that I'm creating right now. When we look at the time that we're spending and we do a time audit, social media screen time, it's such a big chunk of our time, but it's not what we value. And
Right.
it's not saying that we can't do that. But if we're just intentional with the time that we are on social media, like what's my purpose for getting on here? Like, do I want to check on someone? Do I want to share something? Do I want to check on business things, answer people, whatever? And just set a timer because it's important. We need it. It's how our world communicates. It's free advertising for our businesses, but it should not consume as much time that it does. So if we need mental clarity, if our mental tank is empty and if we're looking at our temple time, our mental tank is empty, the last thing that we should do is just be scrolling. But we do that.
100%. Yes.
Check out.
Yes. Now, have you ever done a social media fast?
I did actually, I think that was last year.
It's
Yeah,
incredible. Have you read Wendy Speaks, The 40-Day Social Media Fast?
I
It's
should. It sounds like.
so good. In there, we'll put the link to that in the show notes too. She talks all about, I mean, and it's like a 40-day devotional, and she helps you get through all 40 days, but really see, like, okay, well, why are we turning to social media? And
Hmm.
how can we instead use that time to turn to God? What else could you be
Yeah.
doing? And she shared in her book when she found she used to be reaching for her Bible first thing in the morning when she would wake up. And then she realized at one point she somehow shifted that to reaching for her phone before she ever even got out of bed in the morning. And
Yes.
I think there's so many women who can relate to that where they're reaching for their phone. But when you talk about how much of our time we can get back when we stop the scroll or scroll intentionally, right? Or get in there
Yes.
intentionally. But
Yes.
what a difference that makes. And I feel like a fast like that also helps you just hear from God better too, because you just have so much more peace and clarity.
And cutting out the noise of the world.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's so good. Yeah, I'll check that
100%.
out.
Yeah, I think that it will resonate with you a lot.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about this incredible group of women that you have put together, because I had the opportunity to be a fly on the wall in there last week and got to present a little bit too, which was amazing. But this collective that you've put together just does a beautiful job blending support, community, business strategy, and it just blends faith all throughout it. So, why was it so important for you to weave faith into business growth instead of just like treating them as two separate goals and two separate buckets?
Well, if you go back to the time that aligns at Target, he's in the center. And if you imagine like a water fountain, you've seen those water fountains where the water comes up in the middle and there's like rings of water. When you put God in the center of everything, everything aligns and it flows beautifully. If you take him out of business, if you are faith based, and I struggled with this, Melissa, because when I first started, I'm like, there's some people who maybe they don't share my faith, but I know that I could help them in business. Like I have a business degree. I love marketing and culture and branding and all of that, but I hate to run people away that I could help just because I'm pushing my faith. And I finally come to a Godfidence moment where it was like, you know what? I am who I am. This is who he created me to be. And I don't even know how to teach women about peace and purpose if I take God out of that. So I just started putting it in the middle of everything. And I guess it was a couple years ago in my prayer time, I know that the Holy Spirit guided me and said, gather women. And I was like,
Mm,
I don't know how you want me to gather women, but I will gather women. And I started off, I did a couple of events and I had this vision for a community. And I will tell you, I started this community a little over a year ago, and it was a little rocky, and I've questioned God the whole way. I don't know if you ever question God, like he has this plan
of
for us.
course.
Like, I think I know better than you. I don't think this is going to work, but I knew he said gather women. It doesn't matter if there's one or there's 100, just gather women and build a community. Because as I talk with my clients one on one, I just see it's something they're missing. They're entrepreneur. If you don't have other women entrepreneurs, even a male entrepreneur has a different atmosphere than women. It can feel like we're on a lonely island, depending if you're like my family. I'm the first entrepreneur in my family. I was raised very traditional, and it can be lonely at times.
Yep.
And even in the entrepreneurial world, when you're faith based, that can feel lonely at times. People don't understand
Right.
you. So I'm like, man, I need to gather women and just create a community where faith is important to them, where peace is important to them, living out their purpose and their legacy. It's important to them. And so we started it, and it was rocky. I remember there was one call, I had a guest speaker, and it was just me and her. And I was like, no big deal. We're going to record it, because all my clients, they have a portal on my website where they get all the recordings that we've ever done. So they can watch it later. It's okay. But I will tell you, when I didn't plan on telling this, but let me just share what the Holy Spirit's wanted me to share right now. The moment that I decided to be intentional with my time, to steward well what the Lord had already guided me to. Melissa, I'm a fly by the seat of your pants kind of girl. So I didn't have to have the questions or anything before the podcast. And let's just do it. We can wing it. We can do it. And I've been that way all of my life. And I felt convicted, because that's just how I was operating my business. And I was like, it could almost make me cry right now, because I'm like, we should steward everything well. We
Yes.
should steward with excellence what he has given us. And I wasn't. But the moment that I made a decision, okay, God, I'm not where I know that you're called me to be. Things are not flowing like I know that they could, but I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to be disciplined, and I'm going to do the things that you've called me to do. I'm going to set boundaries, and I'm going to treat this like a business, not just fly by the seat of my pants. And when I did that, I mean, I've already got my entire year planned out. That is not me.
I
That
love
is
that.
not. But when I did that, I have watched him bless my business, bless me with women. And I'm like, okay, I see it now. I
Yes.
had to be faithful in the little things that you've already given me for you to bless my efforts.
That's
And
that obedience right there. It just goes to
it is
show when we are obedient to what he says, just the ways that he pours blessings down.
so the mingle that we do once a month, these women, but let me tell you, these women, they are the most, like, they are God given to me. Like, I did not seek them out. Like, he has placed them, and it's not for me. It's not for my business. It's for each other. And they all have different gifts. They have different talents. They have different personalities. And when we come together for like a workshop, or even the mingle that we do once a month, the value that they add for each other. And what's beautiful is they connect with each other. And when they see each other at the peace retreat or whatever, and then I watch them, they're connecting outside of our circle too. And it's beautiful, because we need that. We need sisters. We need community to help support us, so we don't feel like we're alone.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. That community piece is so important. And
Mhm.
just what an incredible group of women that you've gathered, both the women that are in there and then the women that you bring in as guest speakers. Like you can
Yeah,
just see the light on everybody's faces and you can hear it in their voices, just how much they love being a part of this.
yeah.
Now, Misty, can you share a story of a woman that you've coached whose life or business transformed in a powerful way and what you believe made that transformation possible?
Well, I always tell this story, and she always gives me permission to share. She was that girl that my first client that we went and had the conversation. So she was an insurance agent, and she was actually in the process of becoming an insurance agent. And if you know anything about that world, like there's a lot of qualifications you have to meet, and there's a lot of numbers that you have to focus on. I asked her this question because she was just stressed with the numbers and like, am I going to meet it? And I said, so tell me why. We did the peace target first. She shared a lot of things that she wanted to do different in her life. And I said, tell me why you want to be an insurance agent. Like forget about all the numbers, forget about all the goals, every qualification. Why do you want to do this? And the tears filled her eyes, and she knows my daughter, and she said, because I want to help protect your daughter. And I said, that's what you focus on. It's not about the numbers. It's about your purpose and why God has placed you in this season to help protect people, because that's what you do. And I watched her every month focus more on her purpose, more on her passion, less on the numbers, and the numbers just came. When we operate in our purpose and focus on what God is giving us to do versus all of the world's pressure, the
Yes.
hustle, and all of that, He works it out. He
Yes.
works it out for us. And the most beautiful thing, so I can watch her 8.5 years later. She actually just had me come at their annual gathering for her team, and we taught on purpose this very thing. And I tell the story every time I've coached her team to say it's about purpose, but I watch her teach that. Let's take a step back from all the pressure and let's look at our purpose. So
Yes.
it's definitely, if I had to title that story, it would be purpose over pressure. Maybe
Oh,
that
that's so
could be
good.
it.
Yes. Yes. But Misty, I mean, what a great way to coach somebody through that. Focus on your purpose, focus on your why rather than the numbers. And when you keep your focus on your purpose, everything else will come along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
we know that, God tells us in Romans, all things work together for good for those who are called according to his purpose, right? So we know
Yes.
that if that's what we're focusing on, all
Yeah.
things will work out for good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, Misty, I feel like every time we talk, I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, but we don't have time for that. So maybe you could share for the women who are listening and are like, oh, I want to connect with Misty, or oh, I want to be a part of this collective.
Yeah.
How can they get in touch with you? What's the best place to find you?
Yeah, the best place to find me would be my website, mistylakes.biz. And on there would be all the information of if you wanted to coach one on one, or if you wanted to be part of the collective, if you just need community. And I think everyone is at a different place. Sometimes women might say, I feel good, but I just like I'm doing good. I don't think I need a one-on-one coach, but I would love to be part of this awesome community. And I've had other women who they join the community and then they want just a little bit more one-on-one. And it can be for a short season, or like my other client, for life. I would be okay with that too. But my website, it has my phone number, it has my socials. It's the one place to go, and you can find everything. And this Time That Aligns course will be uploaded soon to my website and be there, and that would be under the store, and they can find my devotional and all that on my website.
Amazing. Well, Misty, thank you so much for taking the time, for pouring into this community. I'm so grateful that we got to have this conversation today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And to all of our listeners, make sure to go to Misty's website where you can find all of the things. And if you are thinking about a community, that collective is incredible. Thank you for joining us on this episode. Stay anchored with purpose, and we'll see you next time.